Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am excited to share my conversation today. I am speaking with Mika Leah. She has quite a story, I will tell you. I want to, tip it off here with the fact that Mika is a warrior for wellness. So we'll just put it that way. She has survived 5 heart stents and 4 invasive heart procedures before she was even 36 years old. And she is alive today because she listened to her intuition and to her body and was an advocate for her health and for herself. So we are definitely going to get into that with this new lease on life and a calling to help others. Mika launched her corporate wellness company, which is called Goomi Group, which we've got to get to the name and how she named her company. We'll get there. It has grown to 300 instructors across the country, offering on-site fitness and health programs for workplaces throughout the United States. It is definitely a movement. This is something that companies are paying very close attention to retain their employees, to incent their employees, to have happy, healthy employees. And Mika is leading that charge. So welcome to the show today, Mika.
Thanks, Felina. It's so great to be here.
I am excited to share your story. You definitely have a very interesting story, and we'll get to the health issues and some of the other things around that, and of course, what caused that. But before we do that, and before we talk about your business, take us back and take us along your career path.
Oh my gosh, my career path is one of those ones that people always say it's a zigzag, not a ladder. So I started in advertising and marketing straight out of college, and I bounced around a little bit. I took a year off where I was an event planner, and then I went back to the sales side of things, working at Newsweek back in the day when that was a magazine. And then I've always been in that advertising and marketing space up until the point that I kind of had my epiphany, but I will let you ask me questions about that.
Okay, perfect. Well, I want to slow down just a little bit. I mean, as you mentioned, you worked for Newsweek. You also worked for Parade Magazine. You worked for the Washington Post. You were a national account manager there. I mean, you were working at some big companies, big brands, big media. Just talk a little more about that. What was that like at that time? Were you traveling a lot? What kinds of industries were you working on?
Yeah, I went from the agency side, and I kind of flipped I was in media, and then I flipped to the other side of the table, if you will. In advertising, we used to call it the dark side. So I went to the dark side into sales, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed working with people. It was really about talking with people on a regular basis, being strategic, coming up with various programs that we could work with advertisers on. And I did that at, Newsweek, and then Parade, and then the Washington Post. And that was really, really fun. I can honestly say it was a lot of fun. A lot of time spent away from the home. So I had 2 little ones at the time. And I think it was a lot. I ended up towards the end there was a lot of time, weeks at a time I would spend traveling for work and fun things, the presidential inauguration and the White House Correspondents' Dinners and things like that with the Post. But it was a lot of traveling and a lot of time away from the family.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what an interesting industry to be in, and now continuing to change, so to speak, with digital and print and all of these things coming together. I can imagine you saw a lot over the course of your time there.
Yeah, I like to joke that, I bought my car online in 99. So it was one of the on the cutting edge back in the day. When I bought my car online, it was unheard of. And back then it was Google spreadsheets, like the spreadsheets that we were doing for Google Analytics. And now obviously things have come so far, but it's been nice to see the changes in advertising and marketing and social. And I still have a passion for it and keeping up with the trends and seeing how advertising and marketing changes just with all the new technologies that we are constantly evolving into, even with Alexa, Alexa giving you ads these days.
Yes. I know, exactly. Well, as an owner of a business, you have to be on top of these things as well. So let's your 36th birthday, let's pause there. What was going on? And, was there an event that happened? Is this something, I mean, you went through massive surgeries, and so just what was going on? What caused all this?
Yeah, so I'll actually back up. I was 32 years old. My daughter was a few months old, and I ran my first half marathon. And after that half marathon, I decided it was horrible, and I never wanted to run ever again. And I was not a runner. But after it was over, I decided, running was such an easy workout that I eventually did put on my shoes a few weeks after the half was over. And I went out and I started experiencing shortness of breath and chest pains, and I actually vomited on my first run back. And begrudgingly, so this, as an athlete, we're always taught to push through the pain. And I was an athlete. I was teaching a weekly cycle class. I was certified in yoga, and I'm an athlete by nature, played soccer. I was a dancer. And so, when I was feeling those chest pains and that shortness of breath, and when I threw up, I kind of thought maybe it was something I ate. So I turned around. A few days later, I went out for a run again and really tried to push past that pain. Begrudging, I kind of went back and I was teaching my cycle class, and the pain started progressively getting worse to the point that I couldn't actually walk a flight of stairs to the cycle room. But in my head, I knew I was, fit enough to be teaching a cycle class. So I begrudgingly went to the doctor, and she ran the EKGs and said, everything was fine. You're perfectly fine. And, I looked like an athlete. I was young at the time, 32 and a half, I guess, or 32. And she said, you're fine. It's just stress. You're just stressed out. And so I kept teaching my weekly cycle classes, and that pain and the shortness of breath and my heart would race, and I would have these, I now call episodes, kept progressively again getting worse. So over that course of the year, I kept going back and forth to the doctor saying, hey, I think something's wrong. And every time she would tell me EKGs were normal, everything's fine, it's just stress. And, she was right, because at the time I was going through a divorce. I had 2 kids under the age of 2, and I had this very high stress, fast paced job in advertising. So I thought, you know what? Yeah, I guess it's just stress. Yeah. But I started having that little inkling in the back of my head thinking, this isn't just stress. I'm having these pains when I'm at my happiest, teaching my cycle classes or exercising. So taking a long story and making it even longer, on my 33rd birthday, as an athlete, and as a fitness nerd, I really wanted to celebrate it with a beautiful hike in Temescal Canyon up in LA. And this was a hike I had done when I was 9 months pregnant. So I should have been able to do it 40 pounds lighter and in really good shape. But instead, I found myself completely breathless to the point that in that first mile, I had to sit down and stop and catch my breath. And it felt as if I had a 200-pound man sitting on my chest, and I couldn't breathe, and my heart was racing, and I had pain shooting down my left arm.
Oh.
And I was looking up at my hiking partner, who was 80 pounds overweight, smoked a pack a day, and had never exercised a day in his life.
Oh.
And looking up at him and feeling all of that, what I was going through, I realized, you know, they say there's that light bulb moment, and that light bulb went off. And I realized that something was seriously wrong with me. And that's when I went back to the doctor. I insisted on a cardiologist. I met with a cardiologist. He said that, you know, chatted with your doctor, EKGs are fine, they're perfectly normal, it's just stress, go home. And I said, no, I want a stress test. I want you to put me on that treadmill, and I'm not leaving here until you do. And then it was, you know, a few weeks, we scheduled the stress test for a few weeks out. And 8 minutes into that treadmill run, my pain was an 8 out of 10. I had that now familiar pain shooting down my left arm. And that's when the nurse rushed me off, and I drove home. And the doctor called me 45 minutes later and said, how soon can you get here? You're going straight into surgery.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
that is so crazy. That is so
really
crazy that you were fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And then what the heck? Oh my gosh. If you hadn't been persistent, that would have what, you know? Oh, good Lord.
I think it was a little bit of persistence and a little bit of that little voice in my head saying something is wrong that assured me to persist. Yeah. And then, you know, from there, we found the blockage, which was at 98%, which is what the experts and doctors call the widowmaker, which means that I would have, had I not caught it, I literally would have walked out of one of my cycle classes. And the doctor told me this, and he said, you would have dropped dead. No AED machine and no CPR would have saved you. And you literally, like, my 1-year-old and 2-year-old would no longer have had another. And that was a really big life-changing moment for me, to realize that life is short, and I consider this my bonus life. And that's when my whole life changed.
I can imagine. My goodness, that is significant. Do you have a family history of this, or is this just out of the blue?
No, I do have a family history, and that is, you know, why I was an athlete and why I ate healthy and why I was so passionate about fitness, is because I knew that I had a family history. So I was doing everything that I was told to do. I was exercising 3 to 5 times a week. I was eating my fruit and veggies. I didn't smoke. I rarely drank. And I did everything I could. But the truth is that sometimes our genes and our genetic makeup is also a huge factor. So it's important that we know our, you know, we like to say at the American Heart Association, know your numbers. But it's also important to know your family history and know that it could happen to anyone, even a young, fit female.
Wow. I can imagine that definitely was a wake-up call. So where, you know, you recover, you know, you've got these choices to make in how you push forward. Was this the time that you said, you know what? Damn it, I'm going to go start a business? Or walk us through this timeline.
The honest truth, and, you know, timeline aside, I ended up having multiple surgeries over the course of several years. And I will say that every surgery brought with it its own epiphany and its own, you know, my life is short. And so I've had 4 surgeries, and each one gives me a new, you know, not a renewed lease on life, but a new focus. And so there was one surgery that I did say, you know what, life is short. I want to do what I love. And I think there was part of me that wanted to leave a legacy and make a difference in the world. And everybody has their different, you know, I was at Hera Hub yesterday speaking with a woman, And she said she was her daughter's trying to make a difference and getting involved in politics and trying to help people with voices, and it was such a beautiful conversation that we were having. And I had that similar experience of my life is short. I want to do something for the world, and I want to make a difference, no matter how little or how medium or how big it is.
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to make a difference. And I knew that when I sat back and I thought about my passion, I knew that I loved helping others get healthy and happy. And I loved teaching my cycle class. And I thought, what if I could do this on a mass scale instead of just one cycle class at a time? What if I could do it on a mass scale and help others get healthy and happy by bringing it on site for them into their workplaces? Because in advertising, we worked 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That was a normal day.
Jeez.
And everybody has that excuse of, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I have a client meeting, I don't have the money for a gym membership, right? Those are the major ones. And I thought, what if I could come up with a company that negated all of those excuses, in which the companies pay for it and we bring it into the workplace so that people don't have to leave, they don't have to pay for it, and it fits right in. And so that's where Goomi Group came from. And I know you jokingly said, where'd the name come from?
Well, you do have to tell the story, please.
Well, it's really just, I like to joke that all the English names were taken when I came up with the name of my company. And I know you have a beautiful one for yours, Talina, and I loved your story behind Hera Hub. And mine's, kind of similar in that I had various names, and then I ended up coming up with Goomi Group. So Goomi translates into rubber band. So what we do is we stretch body and mind with all of our classes and sessions. And it really came from the stretching piece. So that's where Goomi Group came from. Yeah.
I love it. And I love alliteration. Yes, they are hard. Absolutely. Yeah. Understandable. So I think I misspoke in doing your intro because according to LinkedIn, you have 500 instructors. You are in 32 states. You're working with clients like Hulu and Experian and Sony PlayStation and Bank of America. So talk to us about, how does this all work? Company calls you and says, yo, come in, get this going for us. We want our people to be happy and healthy. Give us the rundown.
So I'll kind of talk about the basics of it. It really started with, I think as we start companies, we have maybe smaller ideas of what it was. So when I started Goomi Group, it was literally just going to be yoga and meditation. And we were just going to bring it into offices. And I started off by calling all my friends in the advertising business saying, listen, I sat where you sat, you need this. It's better than beer 30 every day. This is something, healthy, and it's going to keep you healthier than just having happy hours every day at 3:30 or, lemonade and popcorn every afternoon. So that's really where it started. And then it evolved into something so beautiful, which it is today, in that, companies started hearing about us. And I started meeting these amazing instructors along the way that said, I want to be part of your mission. I believe so strongly in your mission. Have you ever thought about doing massages? Or what about cooking demonstrations? Or what about nutritional seminars? Or what about educational seminars? And so now we've grown into this company where we can do anything on-site fitness and wellness. And companies call us and say, okay, I've heard about you through our insurance broker or insurance company, or a friend of mine works over, at Saatchi and Saatchi, and they, we want to do something at our office for you, but we have 7 offices nationwide, or we have 23 offices nationwide, or can you help us serve that? And so we've grown, and we cannot update our website or our LinkedIn fast enough, but we are officially, I think, somewhere around the 37 state mark. We added Vermont, we added Colorado, we added, Maryland was a new one, and that was all in the last 3 months, I think.
Love
So
it.
we're
That's great.
constantly, I know, we're constantly growing and evolving. So the companies call us and they say, and we work one-on-one with them, but really to customize all of these programs to what works for them. And we realize that, every company culture is different. We have one company, Wasserman, and they have few offices, I think 6 or 7 nationwide, but they had one in Brooklyn and one in Manhattan. And the one in Brooklyn wanted yoga, I think it was, and the one in Manhattan wanted boot camp, or it was vice versa. So even though it was the same office, and you could probably throw a stone from one to the other, from Brooklyn to Manhattan,
Yeah.
but we knew that they wanted something different. And so we really worked with them to figure out, we survey our clients and figure out what works for them and what's going to work for their employees, and really delivering customized programs to all of them. And luckily enough, we've grown word of mouth, and all those the marketing and advertising skills I've had, I haven't really put to use. I give good advice, though. I give good advice to others, but when it comes to our own businesses, maybe we can't see the forest through the trees as much.
No, but I mean, that's the best way to grow, right? Is word of mouth. I'm sure all those marketing and sales skills have come into play, maybe just not as obvious, but I'm
Yeah.
sure they are in full effect. So then I'm assuming you're sourcing folks then on the ground, so to speak, in that particular city. You must have a pretty good network of instructors, and you're then, paying them,
Yeah.
bringing them in. Is that right?
Yeah, so our instructors have grown really because I had taught cycle classes for so long, and then I was certified in yoga. And I tapped, when I first started the company, I really tapped into the instructors that I knew, and I said, hey, I've got this crazy idea, and this is what I was thinking, and this is what I was going to pay. And all of them said, that's amazing. We want to be a part of it. And then they started telling their friends, who started telling
Mm.
their friends. And then for the cities that, maybe Folsom, California, or Clinton, Iowa, those cities, we have a full-time recruiter on staff
Okay.
that she has this amazing ability to hire. And we're very specific about who we hire. We're not just hiring anybody that just graduated. We're looking for very specific qualities in an instructor, and that's what she does, and she does it better
Mm.
than anybody else, and she's fabulous.
Yeah,
So we have
I
a
can.
full-time recruiter that we can do that on the ground.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, because I can imagine how critically important this is of finding the right person, because they are representing your brand. They're the one brand band,
Mhm.
right? I mean, when they
Mhm.
show up on site, it's not like, you have a facility that you're branding and then people are coming to. Like, everything is riding on this person to create a great brand experience for the client, you know, several thousand miles away from you. Is
Correct.
is that is that easy? Has that been challenging? I can imagine there have been
Um,
challenges along the way.
there's always challenges along the way. We just had an event actually in San Diego for a client yesterday, Arena Pharmaceuticals,
Mm.
and they were so fabulous in that the feedback was your instructors, the caliber of your instructors and their professionalism exceeded all of our expectations.
Hmm.
And we really do pride ourselves. I've recently read Tony Tsai's book, Delivering Happiness.
Mm.
And he talks about their customer service was really what made Zappos so successful. And I've realized that I've been doing that for years, but even now after reading the book, I realize it's such an important piece that our instructors are everything. They are our brand. And that's why we are so picky. So we're looking for the values have to match our values 100%. We go with that gut instinct too. We're looking for that gut instinct, but they also have to have a professionalism about them where they have that business sense that we're looking for. Plus, and then on top of that, their experience and we're looking for, the highest level of experience in our instructors, because it is so important for us. And that's what makes us great is the instructors. And that's what our clients that's what they see. And so that's what we need to deliver. And we're so focused on that. And if there's one bad review, we don't use that person again.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. All right. So question is, do you still teach spin class?
No, I wish I did.
Oh, man.
I would love to. I would love to. And I think you can relate to this, is that when we start our own companies, there comes a pivot point or a tipping point where we become so busy that some of the things that we love or that have to kind of take a back seat, and we have to really carve out time for the company and realize that if we're going to keep the company growing and keep the company moving in the direction. And so I was teaching cycling classes up until that pivot point for Goomi Group, where I realized that those hours teaching could be spent hours on the business. Mm-hmm. And while I love teaching the cycle classes, it just didn't fit with the schedule and with the company. And so now I focus on the other things that I love doing, trying to get to yoga classes and attending them, but at least, not having that second responsibility of, because it's a job, and I always treated it as a job. And so unfortunately, I get really sad about it. I love teaching. I'll do free classes now and for charity and things like that. So I'll do it for the American Heart Association or other charities that will ask. But I haven't taught in a while.
You should start a yoga class at Hera Hub.
I know. Actually, we've talked about that. So Good. We are one of, I have my certifications, obviously. And then my coworker, Charisse, is an amazing, when she's not working full-time for us and doing the recruiting and everything else she does, she likes to teach classes for fun. And so we've been talking about offering them for Hera Hub too. And we've got amazing instructors in San Diego for the San Diego offices and all around. So
all right, we'll talk. We'll talk, yes. So Mika, what else is on the horizon for the business?
So we have launched a new kind of a business idea called Stretch HR. And that is a new avenue for us to take care of our HR directors. So Goomi Group really works on taking care of the employees, and we work so closely with the HR directors. So we've built out this, I'm going to call it a breakfast speaker series that is called Stretch HR. And stretch obviously plays off of Goomi, translates into rubber bands. So we stretch body and mind, and Stretch HR is going to stretch the minds of our HR clients in that it brings in speakers, it offers breakfast, and then we take care of our HR directors with, as part of the breakfast speaker series, there's a piece of mindfulness that we add in and a piece of what we call boardroom yoga stretch. So we get them out of their chairs halfway through the speaking series between the speaker, the keynote, and the workshop. And we're going to be launching we've been doing it in Los Angeles, and now we are launching it in San Diego next.
Woo-hoo.
So really excited about that. So that is on the horizon for us.
Awesome. Well, keep us posted on that. I'm excited to learn more. If our listeners want to learn more and get in touch with your company, Mika, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so if they want to get in touch with me directly, my email is Mika, Mika, @goomigroup.com, or they can just check us out online at goomigroup.com, and I think there's a contact us page, and it'll get to me eventually.
Perfect. Love it. Awesome.
We try to respond in 24 hours. So, yeah.
No worries. All good. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mika. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks, Melina. Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.